Welcome everyone to Chibi no Podcast. This is Maj, your tech guy, and I was wanting to talk some Star Wars today. Now that Episode 9 has been out for about a month now, and we've all seen it once, or we've seen it quite a few times, when we've had time to think about it, and how it kind of closed off the Skywalker trilogy. So I wanted to share some of my thoughts on everything that happened, and, you know, kind of just as a whole, how Disney has kind of made this new trilogy to connect with what George Lucas had envisioned, and if it was necessary. So let's get into it. So Star Wars for me, everybody kind of has their favorites. I know that the most popular is usually Empire Strikes Back, right? Mine is Return of the Jedi. Now I know that Empire's a better film, but I have more fun with Return of the Jedi. And I get the complaints with, you know, Ewoks or whatever you want to complain about with Return of the Jedi, or the plot didn't make 2 cents for rescuing Han, and I get all that. But, you know, regardless, I had more fun with that than I did all of the original trilogy. As for the prequels, I remember liking one when I first saw it. I was kind of young, but it didn't age well for me. Attack of the Clones, I remember being really bored when I saw that one in the theaters, except for the ending. I remember when Yoda came in, I about lost my shit. That was great, but other than that, the film was really boring for me. Revenge of the Sith, though, holy shit. That was an amazing movie. I really love that movie. I mean, there's still the cheesiness that came with the prequels in general, right? I mean, I never liked Jar Jar Binks, never once, never really found him funny. I think the best character that came out of prequels is Qui-Gon Jinn. He's still one of my favorite characters, actually. But all in all, I thought Revenge of the Sith was amazing. So yeah, that's probably my favorite out of the prequels. As for the sequel trilogy, I remember there's a lot of hype for Force Awakens. And getting opening night, make sure to stay away from spoilers. There's so much hype, you know. One of my favorite characters before the Clone Wars, right, has always been Luke Skywalker. Ahsoka Tano ended up being my favorite character after the Clone Wars. But anyway, I was really excited to see Luke again, you know, on the big screen. And unfortunately, Force Awakens didn't do that for me. But it was fine. I know it's about the new characters, and I was actually pretty interested in the new one. You know, Rey was mysterious, and how she learned all these Force abilities so quick, and all that. And then the idea of, like, Finn being a stormtrooper that runs away, I mean, like, that was so badass. And then Poe Dameron, you know, he was really funny. Really liked what his character was for the Oscar Isaac added to that. And yeah, I thought the new cast was really good. I thought JJ was onto something, and the mystery box thing, whether you like it or hate it, I really liked it. So Force Awakens was really good. Then The Last Jedi came out, and I feel that they completely shit all over my favorite character. Completely. I just think we can argue it all day. I feel it ruined his, not ruined, sorry. It was disrespectful. It disrespected his character and the arc and growth that Luke had. It, to me, was the most upset I've ever been in Star Wars walking out of a theater. I remember buying all the merchandise, popcorn, all that, and I just threw this shit in the garbage. I was so fucking pissed. I absolutely hated that movie. Not just because of Luke. That movie is just, I don't know, it felt like what I got excited for 2 years to see the next one just kind of shit on it. And didn't care about carrying the story forward. But anyway, this isn't a hate video on The Last Jedi. I mean, I know some people love it and some people hate it. I'm in the hate department. And then I was excited for 9 because JJ was coming back to finish it, right? And to see what he could do. And it did feel like a sequel to Force Awakens, but it felt like it shit on Episode 8, where 8 I felt shit on 7, and you could just totally tell there's not a plan. The other films, you could say they're kind of writing them as they go with the originals, but they did kind of have a plan to kind of connect them. You know, I mean, there's little things that you could kind of see, oh, well, they changed their mind. Now Luke's now, you know, the son of Vader, and Leia's now his sister, and those are throw-ins. But besides that, though, like the story, you know, of 4, 5, and 6, they all interconnect where they feel like a growing story, and they feel like they follow the one that led after them. The sequel trilogy, not so much. It just felt like somebody was constantly fighting over the candy bar, you know? I mean, JJ wanted his story, Ryan wanted to do what he wanted, and then JJ comes back, he's like, no, screw you for changing what I wanted. I'm going to go back to what I wanted to do. So, me being a fan of Force Awakens, I actually kind of like that from 9. but it's a whole mess, right? I mean, it's just a mess. I mean, the first viewing of Rise of Skywalker, it's just going so damn fucking fast. You can't even process anything. Luckily, I read the leaks prior, so I had some time to think on that, but it was hard to kind of watch, right? It's just boom, 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 end. Second viewing. Absolutely love the film after that. Because I already had time to process and know the scenes that are coming up, you know? So that was great. Now, my favorite film of the sequel after everything's been said and done would be Force Awakens. I saw that quite a few times in theaters. I don't know if it's 3 or 4 times. Then I watched it quite a few times on Blu-ray after that. Last Jedi I saw once in theaters. Didn't want to see again. I watched it one more time on Blu-ray. I think we turned it off after it got to Luke milking the cow's tit thing. I said, fuck this. And me and my girlfriend just turned that shit off immediately. Couldn't do it. And then I remember that I was following a YouTuber, Ivan Ortega, and he did an amazing edit. I highly recommend you guys go watch his edit if you guys didn't like The Last Jedi. He did a really good job of continuing the story of what we kind of feel could have been a better film. He keeps Ryan's story, but he doesn't make it so bad. He doesn't make Luke like a guy that wanted to just, you know, try and kill a nephew in his sleep and then just go to die on an island and be a hermit that doesn't give a shit. Which I know people can argue with Yoda and Obi-Wan, but they actually had purpose. So, I mean, they were waiting for the kids to get older, you know. Obi-Wan was watching over Luke. I mean, they had reasons. They weren't just going to be like, no, screw the Force and, you know, I'm not going to trade anyone. And no, you know, they were masters in their own right. They made sure to carry over the new generation to, you know, fix their mistakes. I get that. I still think the Jedi are kind of pieces of shit, the old ones. I mean, what they did with children and everything and their religion, I think it does cause a lot of harm. And I do think the idea of Rian Johnson putting the Jedi should end is a good nod. Just not Luke being in a whiny little bitch type mode and doesn't give a crap. But besides that, it kind of sucked because I was really invested with the characters quite a bit. And then, I don't know. I felt Poe was wasted quite a bit in The Last Jedi, and then they gave him a lot better role in 9. Finn, I didn't like either in Last Jedi because it just felt like they were retelling his damn role. And Carrie Marie Tran, I like actress, but as Rose, man, that character was just shit. I'm sorry. I did not like her character. It was so dumb. I didn't like Finn's character either in it. I'll get to Rey last. But I thought they did Finn a lot better in 9, but again, he's just obviously just yelling Rey all the time. I don't know, I feel bad for Boyega, you know, and he's been pretty open with some of the mess stuff with this, and it's too bad. I was really invested in it. I really like The Rise of Skywalker, don't get me wrong, but I'm looking at it as the sequel trilogy, and I don't know, it's just such a mess. Things don't feel they really go together, and you can still watch 1 through 6 and you're satisfied. Like, you don't really need 7 or 8, 9. And that's the thing I'm coming down to, is it's just like, what did these things add that we needed? You know, and they really didn't add anything besides just let's watch all our favorite characters from our childhood just die. I mean, other than that, it really didn't do anything. It didn't carry anything forward. I don't know. I wasn't a really big fan of it. I guess we'll just get to Rey. I mean, holy shit, talk about a Mary Sue. I am sorry. You can argue it all you want, but no. I mean, the Last Jedi novelization, it literally freaking says that she downloaded freaking Kylo Ren's training for like 17 years with Luke Skywalker. I'm sorry, that's a crockload of shit. Now Jedi can just download training from other Jedi by touching the... I'm sorry, no, that's just a bullshit excuse because they wrote it in a corner. And they didn't answer in the films. I shouldn't have to read a fucking book to get answers, by the way. And then these books contradict themselves because in The Force Awakens, she meets Poe in the book, which you don't see in the movie. But then in the movie, she just meets Poe again. So there's contradictions. And you ask Disney, and they're like, oh, well, you know. So that kind of shit annoys me. You know, and I shouldn't have to read comic books to know about certain Force abilities. Luckily, I'm a big nerd of Star Wars, and I know that the games have this stuff. You know, about Force healing and all that, and then the life-sucking thing that, you know, and Palpatine does, and in number 9, I should say. It's just, but again, some of it's just so far-fetched. I mean, like, Rey's this perfect fucking Jedi that doesn't hardly need any damn training at all. I mean, she didn't get trained from Luke in episode 8. Don't bullshit me. I mean, she meditated on a damn rock. That's it. It's not training. You know, she's trained herself. She's, you know, I guess she's efficient, and learned how to fight herself. That's fine, but this is a damn Jedi. I mean, this isn't just, you don't just pick up a million rocks at the end just because the Force is about picking up rocks, as Rez says. I mean, Luke couldn't even pick up his damn X-Wing from months training with Yoda. You know, here comes Mary Ray Sue lifting millions of rocks. Like, I liked her in Force Awakens, right? Because I didn't have the answers. I didn't know why she's so skilled. And she just, it's hard to relate to someone that doesn't fucking struggle. I mean, the most she ever gets hurt is like a scratch on her hand from one of the Praetorian guards of Snoke. And then, granted, in 9, they were bold enough to actually, I mean, she technically lost against Kylo Ren. Thank God, finally, she can actually lose for once. You know, that was a cool struggle. I mean, if it wasn't for Leia sacrificing herself to project and give those memories of Han to help get her son to the light, which I thought was a beautiful ending to her character for the film they had left to incorporate. I thought they did an excellent job with Carrie Fisher in 9 for what they could do with her. Obviously, it's sad. You know, we wish we could have more dialogue and maybe a different story for her. But this is what we got, and I feel for what they had, I thought they did just fine with that. But you know, it was in that moment that Rey did lose, and if it wasn't for Kylo Ren getting that sense and seeing his dad and all that, I mean, the sense of his mom dying, then Rey wouldn't have won. So I liked that. As for Snoke, right, with the whole Palpatine thing, I see the controversy, but I think, like, what else are they going to do? I mean, Kylo Ren's kind of shit as a villain. Now, I will say this. I think Kylo Ren's the best of the new characters. I liked his arc a little bit. It wasn't too bad. It's kind of cool to see, like, light side forcing himself to be dark, but constantly battling himself from going back to the light. Where it was like Anakin, right? He's constantly battling himself going to the dark and was constantly trying to stay in the light. This is opposite, which I love that. I mean, Ben Solo was my favorite part of The Rise of Skywalker, right? That fight scene when he fights the Knights of Ren, that was a badass scene. Even though the Knights of Ren were underused, again, because they didn't use them in 8. And this is kind of the problem I have, is this whole trilogy is a mess. I mean, they set up all these things like the Knights of Ren, what happened with Rey when she was a kid, and how she's so powerful. And then they kind of give us kind of a cop-out, like, oh, she's Palpatine. Well, that's great, that's fine, but just because you're a Palpatine doesn't mean you don't need no training and you're more powerful than frickin' everyone. Palpatine was old, you know, we become the most powerful Sith Lord we've seen by not doing anything. You know, I mean, he trained. He worked his ass off to get where he wanted to get, you know. He's a brilliant villain, you know. I was really excited to see kind of Snoke. I get they could say he's a clone of Palpatine, which is fine. Whatever, but I mean, it's Star Wars, you know, and it's cool to see another powerful, like, Dark Lord kind of, you know, push the heroes to a corner, and to see how powerful he was, just throwing them around and stuff, and just throwing the lightning at Kylo when he gets aggravated. I mean, it was really cool. I just hated how he died. I mean, that subversion of expectations. I mean, it's fine to have that movies, Rian Johnson, but I just leave it out of Star Wars, man. Like, I know you're trying to be different, but shit, man, it did not feel like Star Wars. I don't know. The light speed jump thing, that pissed me off. When I was in the theaters, I wasn't like, oh, I was just like, what the hell? Man, I don't know. This whole sequel trilogy was just like they wanted to do whatever they wanted to do when there's already been a lore established for the last 6 movies. I understand adding new Force abilities like the Force healing on film and, you know, sucking a Force essence and stuff, and I get that, but it just didn't. Sometimes it's like it's too much. You know, you go too far with it. You try to be too bold with it, and that's not what I feel we go to Star Wars for. We're not seeing these master god wizards. I mean, Jedi still had to train. They can never master the Force, right? They just use it, and, you know, they try to master their abilities, but they're still human, you know? They were still limited to what they could do, you know? They weren't just, like, flying around being Superman or something. It's just, sure, you had like the Force jump and all that. I get that. That's not what I mean. I mean, it's just like the lore is already established, and they just feel they just took it to like 100 when they didn't need to. Almost kind of like how, think of it like this, kind of a stupid way to explain this, right? But like Fast and the Furious. You know, I mean, the first couple movies were street racing, and then it turned into a huge action flick. I mean, as much as I love that, don't get me wrong, it's one of my favorite franchises, and I love the action ones. But it's not necessarily necessary either, right? I feel Star Wars, the sequel trilogy, kind of went with what was like the original Fast Furious, and then it just turned into like holy shit, over the top. And I don't feel it was necessary. And at the end of the day, this really didn't add anything. I mean, Palpatine's death to me, it was just so underwhelming. I mean, to just block lightning back at him with a lightsaber to kill him, and then, ooh, I got 2 lightsabers, and now I'm going to kill him from it. I mean, I'm not going to lie, the ending was pretty shit to Palpatine. It was dumb. I mean, he just barely shot, like, god lightning in the air, taking out an entire fleet, but then shooting lightning at Rey, she just blocks his lightsaber and kills him with it. Like, I know she was doing a push, like a forced push to push it back to kill him, and that looked cool. But it's not how Palpatine should die. I mean, I didn't like how Ben just got thrown in the hole to come back up to sacrifice himself to save Rey again. Like, I would actually like to see Palpatine pull out a lightsaber, right, and fight or something. Like, I know he's old, I get that. But, I mean, God, we saw him doing this swirly freaking lightsaber thing at Mace Windu and them, and in the Revenge of the Sith, and it's just like, and he just took their life to be young again. I mean, sure, come on, add it back. Don't just have him just shoot lightning again. It's like, bitch, you already did this once. You already died from it. Stop. Turn off the lightning. Like, I don't know. The ending just wasn't the best. Rey taking the Skywalker name, I wouldn't have minded as much if it was more earned for Rey, right? I understand her not wanting to be a Palpatine. I understand taking ownership for that name. But at the end of the day, you're not a Skywalker. And if you're going to be a Skywalker because those are your 2 masters, which I get, I would like it to be earned. You know, the Skywalkers, they didn't just get by. I mean, they have tragic history, and they did go through a lot. I don't feel it's like, what the hell did Rey go through? I mean, besides just being on the desert planet, like, I don't know, man. I just don't like the idea of she's just powerful because she's Skywalker. I mean, Palpatine, because being a Skywalker, I mean, Anakin trained like a mother. He trained for years. Luke trained, you know? I mean, he was still not even that great of a Jedi Knight, you know? On Return of the Jedi, it wasn't until after that, you know, he got more skilled. And I would have liked to see that on film, but we didn't. And I don't know. It's just really unfortunate. I'd probably say Force Awakens is probably my favorite, you know, out of the sequel trilogy still to this day. I still think it's a fun Star Wars film. It feels like Star Wars. Rise of Skywalker was fun. I really enjoyed it, don't get me wrong, but it's not really that good of a Star Wars film to me. Last Jedi is just complete utter trash. Star Wars or sci-fi is just a cat and mouse with a grumpy old hermit that tried to kill his nephew in his sleep. Just like pulling a fucking gun on your nephew because you sense he had like some bad intentions from some hearsay. It was a mess. But just kind of wanted to just see what everybody thought about this. I mean, I think Rogue One, if we don't count it as part of the trilogy, that might have been the best Star Wars film that they've produced. I didn't mind Solo. I didn't think it was that bad. But yeah, I don't know. I just want to kind of get your guys' thoughts. I mean, now that everything's over, what are you guys' favorite movies from, you know, the original and the prequels and now the new Disney trilogy? You know, what's your guys' favorites? You know, how did you guys feel about the direction or you know, 7 through 9? Like, how did you guys feel about those films and what they did, and then how they kind of came together as a whole story? What did you guys all feel? I really like to get some opinions on our listeners on what they feel. You know, this. Don't worry about your opinions, you know, nobody discriminate anybody. That's what I hate, you know. It's like The Last Jedi came out and now everybody's separated. It's fine if you liked it. It's fine if you hated it, but we don't need to be dicks to each other, right? David, being one of my best friends on this podcast, you know, he absolutely loves this. One of his favorite all time. He's one of my best friends. I don't give a shit. At the end of the day, who cares? It's just a fucking movie. As much as we love the franchise, you know, I don't attack him for it. He doesn't attack me. We don't give a shit, you know? But I really like to hear from you guys, what you guys kind of think of how Disney handled what your favorite ones are. So anyway, give me some comments down below and hopefully we can talk about it, and have a good day.